Hi guys, and welcome back to the next in the video series of the building of the Warbirds Replicas Hawker Tempest. Now, I haven't done a lot of work since the last video, mainly because the last couple of days, or the weekend, I've been busy flying both days. I went to a show on Saturday, I was flying there to Warden, and then one of my clubs had a club day yesterday, so I was flying there most of the day. But I have grabbed some time in between flying and household chores, domestic chores I should say, and I've done some bits and pieces on the plane and I've put them together in this video, so I'll post it up and you can see what I've done. So now that the dihedral braces have dried, I'm using my permagrit just to sand down the surfaces where they protrude and obviously get some of the glue off as well. Obviously you've got to be careful when you're doing this that you don't go through the veneer, so it's really just a question of by feel to make sure you're getting it down. The main dihedral brace in the centre of the wing here is slightly shallower than the wing section anyway, so just be careful. The leading edge one protrudes above it, so you stand more chance of getting that right. You can actually feel when you're cutting through it, because you're cutting against the grain of the ply, so it's quite rough. So just go steady and that should give you a relatively good finish. There are some bits and pieces here which I'm going to attend to with a bit of filler later, but at the moment I'm happy with what we've got. So I'm going to complete that now, do the other side, and come back to you when I've done that. Now, whilst I'm on dealing with the wing, another thing I've done, I've cut this big chunk out of the leading edge of the wing there at the centre section, and the reason for that is I'm going to glue this balsa block in place there. That's going to be glued in and shaped, and the reason for that is going to be where the dowel that holds the wing into the fuselage goes in. And the reason I've done that is a single dowel, and if you can imagine it, we've got a glued joint here. Trying to drill a hole dead centre is next to impossible. That drill will wander off. So if we glue a balsa block in place here, like so, there, and we drill that, we're obviously going to get a much better fixing in there. It's not going to wander off, and plus arguably the dowel is going to be stronger in there anyway, because it's got this whole surface area of block glued to the wing to give it strength. So that's going to be glued in with Gorilla Glue Brown. Now that the Gorilla Glue has gone off, I can now shape this or cut this to profile this block. So I'm going to use my razor saw to do that. Just getting rid of the majority of it. It makes it easier to sand. And then the coarse perma grit. And now just finishing that off with my sanding bar. Excellent. So that's my balsa block in place, and what I can now do is offer it up to the fuselage here. Like so. I'm going to need a bit of trimming by the looks of it. Yeah, if I move that around so you can see it. The trailing edge needs to be trimmed back by about just over a formal width, or maybe 1/8 of an inch, just there so that it sits in. So let's do that now. A bit more than that. What I don't want to do is to damage the surface of the wing. So let's get a bit of the polystyrene. Just try that. A touch more is needed. But obviously it's going to be covered with the, it's going to be wrapped with the fiberglass bandage, so I'm going to have to do a bit more here anyway. So let's just mark a pencil line. Don't really want to go any more than that. Just smooth that in so it's blending into the curve of the wing. So that's about right there, but I need to now take a little bit more off for the bandage. So offering the wing up, that fits in there nicely now. I noticed that when I offered the fuselage up, or the wing up to the fuselage, put them in position like that, then there is a bit of a gap along here between the wing and the fuselage, so I need to take a bit of fuselage out here, describe a bit of a line there in that section for the wing to sit in there a bit better. It's not totally necessary, but it's annoying if it's not a tight fit. Now, a useful tip here is obviously to use some good sandpaper, wrap it round a bottle. I've just picked this one up, maybe a bit bigger than this will be better, and then use that, because don't forget what you're doing is you're sanding away the ply doubler, not the balsa fuselage side, it's the ply doubler that where the resistance is. And it just makes it easier if you've got it, the sandpaper wrapped around a curved object. Not only does it make it easier, it gives a more curved, smoother finish. Right, let's see how that marries up now. Roughly there. Oops. Oh, that's a lot better than it was the other side. Need to do a touch on the other side as well, obviously, to get that right. I've marked the position of where the dowel is going to go in the bulkhead F3. So I'm just going to drill that hole now. Just going to drill in effect a pilot hole to start with. And before I get much further, I'm going to put the wing in there now, and with the wing in place, transfer that drill mark hole into the wing. Into the balsa now. So now I've got the hole there, pilot hole in the block balsa, which is good. And the only thing I want to do now is to get the dowel and see what size it is and open up the hole. Bit of a continuation with the wing, other bits that I didn't explain that I've done. So the servo boxes are mounted, glued in. I'd already cut the groove or channel in place for the cable, the servo cable. The cables are in now, protruding through. So I've just cut some from the scrap in the kit, just cut some small sections of balsa which are going to fit in there like that. So I'm going to glue those in place now. Bit of a messy job this. I suppose arguably I could have made them a lot deeper and then cut them off to suit, but I didn't. Do I care if the cables get stuck in? No, I don't actually, because they are permanently in there. The junction or the joint between the cables and the servos are in the servo box themselves, so they're not in the wing, so there's no joint there. So touch wood, the chances of getting a fault within the length of cable are very slight. I've also tested the cables before I've put them in, so to make sure they're okay, which they are. So hopefully, what can go wrong? I know we should never say that as model flyers. A bit like saying, oh, I'll just have one more flight. This is going to be the last flight of the day. Yeah, this will be the last one. Yeah, probably is going to be. So that's going to fit in there, so a little bit more glue on. I'm not using Gorilla Glue Brown on this, and the reason I'm not using Gorilla Glue Brown is purely and simply because I don't want to get it all over my fingers, because it's a bit of a awkward cust to get off your skin. So let's just push that in place. I'm not pushing it flush, I'm just pushing it down. It's a tight fit, so it'll hold in place there. And I'm bending it where the dihedral is. I don't mind that it sticks up proud a bit because it'll be sanded to suit. So let me just, I need to nip the bit of the end of that one off. There we go. Now there's one other bit of work that I'm going to do to the wing, and it's something again that Richard hasn't done, mainly because, you know, it's my choice. It's nothing to do, it's not an omission from the kit at all, but it's to do with where the wing retaining bolt goes, where it goes through the wing, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute when I've just finished this. God, this must be boring watching me apply glue to a strip of balsa. I just wish I had shares in Gorilla Glue. So let's just push that in. I'm lifting the wing up because obviously the dihedral means that there's a big gap in the middle. Just push that down through there. And last bit of glue. That's good. Okay, so we'll leave that. Leave those alone anyway. Okay, so what I was talking about, the wing retaining bolt, I marked the position where the hole's going to be in the wing, and we've got two problems. Having said that, with this one it's not that bad, but we've got a problem about drilling that hole for a start, because obviously we've got our glue joint there. We can get over that, but with a lot of foam wings, if the bolt is further away from any solid surface, when you clamp the wing up, that can compress the foam. So what I would do is cut out a square there, put some balsa through, Gorilla Glue it in, and then when it's dry, drill a hole through. And the balsa would be put grain end on, so you're drilling down through the end grain of the balsa, because that won't compress at all when you do it up. To be fair, this one, because that is so close, you can see it, that hole is so close to the balsa trailing edge, that's not gonna move. So I'll just form the hole through there I'll form it with a rat tail file, my permagrip file, because that way I can get past the glue problem. And in fact, what I will do just to assist that is I will use my knife and just cut down through that glue joint right the way through, and that gives me a much better chance of getting the hole correctly through there. So I'll just get my rat tail file now and go through that. Right, let's just push that through. It has a tendency to try and go either side of the glue line, but with a file I can overcome that problem. Let's get the bolt, make sure it fits. Yeah, that's a nice fit through there. Of course, with that hole formed, one of the things I need to check now is to make sure that it all fits on the fuselage nicely. So let's just move that to one side. I'll get my foam stand so I can sit the fuselage in that. Put the wing in place, make sure the servo cables are down. I'm not going to get pinched. Put it roughly in place. And one holding down bolt. Now what I've done on that, they're always too long, so I've cut about, I don't know, 25mm off the end of that to make it shorter, because at the flying field, forever doing up a wing holding bolt, and I always say to myself, oh, I must make these shorter. So I have done this time. That's good. It's protruding through quite a bit. Anyway, now I did say there's something I'll draw your attention to. Now on the Focke-Wulf, there's a little lip between the back of the back of the trailing edge and the fuselage, and when you come in for a belly landing, that can catch on the ground. Don't damage, just a load of muck. But you'll notice on this is a much bigger step down. We're somewhat protected by our chin, which comes through here, but it's still potentially going to be problematic. So let me just move the camera up a bit. So what I think I will be doing is I will be forming a fillet in balsa just to infill that bit there of the fuse, maybe up to the halfway line, half mid chord line, something like that, just to infill that step there. Otherwise it's just going to catch a load of muck and rubbish in there. Like I say, it's going to be protected by the chin because that's where it's going to come into land, but it also doesn't look right. It'd be nicer if we had a better forming, smoothing on that. And if we look at it there, you'll see just tilt that to one side. Really speaking, that could do with a... I'm now going to begin to wonder whether I should have cut the bolt off after all, because I'm thinking that needs a sheet of balsa about 1/2 inch thick. Yeah, 12.5 mil, 1/2 inch thick, planting on there. Yeah, I don't like it like that. It's too much of a step. So I think I will check my supplies and do that. And I want to do that before I put the wing bandage on, because that wing bandage will go over the top of the balsa. And yeah, he says it's either that or I stick the balsa on top of the wing bandage and then maybe put a glass surface on that. I don't know yet, I'll think about that. But maybe my bolt is now too short and I shouldn't have cut the end off. Fortunately, I've got spare bolts. And maybe that's... Richard will say, well, that's why I left it, that's why they were that length. Because you know you're going to have to put a sheet of balsa, underbelly balsa. Yeah, that's a bit touch and go, that is. I think I might need to replace that bolt. Never mind. Anyway, so quite happy with that. The joint on there. I've put reinforcing the I can't remember what I said in the previous video, but F3 former, which holds the dowel for the leading edge. It's only made out of this light ply, and I didn't like that. I wanted it to be thicker. So I've got a bit of scrap leftover ply, and I've just glued that to the front of F3. I'll cut off, obviously cut it level, and then I will, you can just see there the hole that's been drilled through. I'll continue that hole through this bit of strengthening. I think it's worthwhile doing that personally. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Please, if you like the video, down below, click the like. Any comments, please put below and I'll get back to you. Right, see you on the next one, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.